Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 1992 giallo film Circle of Fear, and this was another Aldo Lado film, which I have reviews for two other Aldo Lado films on my channel. Those being Short Night of Glass Dolls, which I think is a vastly underrated giallo film, as well as Who Saw Her Die, which I think is definitely worth watching. I enjoyed it. He's also done some films such as The Humanoid and Dark Friday, just to name a few. He was also involved in writing the script, along with Robert Brodie Booth, who wrote scripts for The Opponent, Run for Your Life, and Berlin 39, as well as the big name here, Dardano Sacchetti, who, some of the biggest things, because I can't name everything Sacchetti's written, because if you look at his script writing credits on IMDb, it's a lot. So just some highlights: Demons, Demons 2, 1990, The Bronx Warriors, The Scorpion with Two Tails, A Bay of Blood, Cat o' Nine Tails, and The New York Ripper. Some really good ones there. So I think that's why, because of Sacchetti, is why we get a pretty good twist to this. And overall, we get a pretty solid story. Now, one of the things that's not solid, and becomes apparent very early in the film, that score. Man, the music for this is awful. It's that terrible early 90s music that's like, oh God, I hate it. If there's a reason I'm not going to rewatch this film, it's because of the music. It's not anything other than that freaking music. Because not only is it terrible, but it is so loud, it is so in your face, and you can't ignore it. It's bad. Anyway, I do like the way this film starts with the freeze frame on the silhouette of the killer, with that large switchblade silhouette as well. A lot of times opening credits, they're not that interesting. But in this case, they give you something interesting to look at. I especially like how they do the silhouette like flick out of the blade and then freeze it on that. Which, by the way, that is a very large switchblade. I don't know how many inches it is. I'm not even going to guess. But it's definitely bigger than any switchblade I've ever seen in a movie before. Just saying. But it's good for being the killer's weapon, because as we know from the film, the full moon killer had been decapitating people. So I guess you need a knife that big and strong for doing something like that. Tony and Lisa are some badass undercovers. Yes, they are very indiscriminate, though, with how many people get killed. Like, they really, for the entirety of the film, seem very much not concerned about all the damage that's occurred, all the out in the public gunfights that they have, which I think actually is only really two, but that's still a lot. Also, not concerned for innocent bystanders whatsoever. At no point do they ever show any sort of interest in the safety of innocent people who are around. So they are these typical badass, undercovers, and it reminds me of, some films of that time of the early 90s that were pretty popular. So, yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end. The poor chef in the beginning in the restaurant, he's just trying to make some food, and his whole place ends up getting shot up. He's just trying to stay alive. He's running back to the kitchen, hiding, cowering, and at no point are Tony and Lisa really caring that much. Like I said, no concern for innocent bystanders. But once again, this is one of the things about the quirks with giallo films. Those types of interesting little quirks. The fact that Tony and Lisa are really only concerned with themselves and laser focused on their objective of taking down I guess it's like a drug cartel in essence, but yeah. They've got that stock angry police chief in this one who ends up reaming out Tony and Lisa immediately. He does it, I think, 2 times in the film. But yeah, I mean, for this era, for these types of films, not giallo specifically, but the kind of like the buddy cop type stuff, they always had that angry police chief who had to ream them out after they did something in public and, damage some public property or personal property, restaurant in this instance. So yeah, got that guy going. And he's funny. I mean, comic relief to a degree. So the fact that Tony and Lisa also bone makes me believe that she would end up getting killed to kind of fuel vengeance from his side. Now, obviously, they throw a different twist to that, which I was glad to see, of, Tony and his wife, Elvie, getting shot up, which I didn't see that coming. I thought he was single and just boning Lisa, but no, it's even worse. Like, Tony's even worse of a person. In addition to not caring about innocent bystanders while you have shootouts in public, He also is cheating on his wife, who then gets killed. He almost gets killed. He gets shot up, and I think he's in the hospital for a few months, is basically what they say. But then he goes back and gets back into this relationship with the woman he was cheating on his wife with. So I know at one point he kind of says to Lisa that like he couldn't be with her for a little bit after the incident or the attempted murder because of his wife dying. But so I'm assuming he had some sort of guilt. But then he just gets back into having a relationship with her, literally after he tells her that. Like literally right then is when they then start making out and then bone again. And it's just like, okay, I can't really root for this guy a whole lot. Can't really root for Lisa a whole lot either. I did kind of think at one point, because thinking about the shooting, I did kind of think that maybe in the end the twist would be that Lisa was the killer because she got jealous and she tried to take out LV and Tony at the same time because she was mad. But it ended up not being the case, and I think it was a better story the way it was as opposed to what I thought might happen. Tony literally said, "Yeah, but I didn't pee all day yesterday." When after he and Lisa boned for the first time, he has to go to the bathroom, and she's like, you always pee after we I think she said make love," and he's like, "Oh, but I didn't pee all day yesterday." I got news for you, Tony. You got health problems. If you go an entire day without peeing, you're severely dehydrated. I'm sure you didn't feel good, and you need to get that checked out because you can die from that. Tony makes all sorts of bad decisions. Awesome scene when the Countess stabs Marco's hand, the orderly who is tending to her to give her food. When she asks for the paper that he goes and gets for her, I knew that something was up, but what she did was a nice surprise, especially the fact that she like was so cheery about it. Like her line delivery for me, I think was the best. And I'll talk a little bit more about her in a little bit, but I liked the Countess in this. Who has problems cracking an egg into a skillet? It's Tony, I guess. I mean, note that he cracks an egg right onto the floor, basically. I know he was, like, supposed to be distracted, but, like, literally it's not hard. So, first of all, he talks about, he's cheating on his wife, doesn't care about innocents being shot out in public, uh, doesn't pee every day, and opens eggs onto the floor. Like, there's, this guy's off. Like, he's not all there. I don't think he's playing with a full deck. Let's be honest about that. Tony, weird guy. Tony thinking that the mummified body in the old house is LV's killer isn't really the greatest lead, but obviously that's what he was going with. It kind of felt like at that point he was just hyper focused on what happened biggest in his life last, which was the death of his wife he was cheating on. So I mean, I guess I get it in that sense, but he just like grabs on that. He's just like, "Yep, this must be her killer," because he saw that maybe there was someone in the photo that she took. Because I guess she was a realtor, so she was going to take pictures of it because they were going to sell it, or she was going to be able to sell it. I don't know. It's so weird. Seeing the Countess painting that large mural in her hospital room makes me think that it would end up telling an important story later. I was kind of hoping it would be tied in, kind of like in Deep Red, how, there's that, some of the wall gets like chipped back and there's that like little drawing that the kid made that ends up being like a big deal. Was that Deep Red? That is Deep Red, right? I think so. I may be getting confused, but I thought that was Deep Red. At any rate, no, I think that's Tenebrae actually. Getting confused on these. I'm watching so much giallo that like they're all blurring together for the most part. My apologies. But yeah, I was hoping that mural would kind of like come into factor into something later, but it didn't. It's just, I guess that's just how she's spending her time, and they felt like it was important to show that. Okay. And the Countess became my favorite character in the entire film when she told the nurse she's dead meat and starts laughing. And then when she just shuts the light off when Tony's there talking to her. Like, she's such a quirky, weird character, but she's so delightful at the same time that, like, I couldn't not love her character. I love the Countess. And the fact that she's out there somewhere wreaking havoc in the world by what, you hear at the end of the film, I love it. I feel like maybe there should have been a sequel to this one. Just saying. Interesting bit of information that the gun that killed Elvie was in the Countess's estate with her dead son Marco. Dead son Marco. You know, they thought Marco was dead at that point. But then when they realized that the body was actually a. Or no, when they realized that Marco wasn't actually dead, but he had actually become the sister. Something else. But I like that they kind of dropped that little bit of information because it's like it's what you want in these types of films. You want those little, you know, breadcrumb drops that you can pick up and be satisfied and not feel like the movie's just like spinning its wheels and not going anywhere. So I like that little bit. Didn't see a car crashing into a restaurant and an ensuing gunfight coming, although I liked it. Yet another instance of Tony and Lisa not really caring about, you know, having a gunfight out in you know, public. Although it is better than the first one because they didn't cause this one, like they just happened to be there and you know, the gunfight happened. So it's not as bad as the beginning where like they kind of knew that that's what they were doing. Something else. But I liked it. I liked that scene because it was unexpected and it was fun. I love how it seems that Tony and Lisa have no concern for innocent bystanders. I already talked about that, sorry. Um, and the flick of the switchblade usually signals that someone is going to be killed. Obviously, that's the time that it happens, where I guess it was a prostitute who Marco ends up going up to initially. Marco, aka the lawyer, ends up going to, and then they're like, oh, you looking for a good time, basically? And then you see like the flick of that switchblade, and then in your mind as an audience member, you're like, death, it's coming, death. And it does. No disappointment there. Although, would have been better to see the killing. Seems weird to say that. But from a horror perspective, not really. They do make you feel like Lisa could be in danger when the Countess comes over to Tony's place. That did add a good amount of tension to it. Like, at that point, obviously, as an audience member, we know what the Countess is capable of. We know that she's unhinged. They are thinking that maybe in some way she's connected with the Full Moon Killer. So you feel like Lisa kind of is potentially in peril. She ends up not being really, well, I mean, I guess she could have been. But in the end, she's fine because the Countess ends up leaving. But they did a good job of making you feel like something could potentially happen. So it added a nice tension. The threatening tape sent to the lawyer sounded delightfully sinister. I love that. Obviously, it was fake, though, because that's actually Marco in the end, kind of setting up a way for them to kind of think that he's a potential victim, which is the best way for him to kind of distance himself from who he actually is. Deception. Mancini doesn't seem like a tough guy at all when he ends up getting caught. He just starts like breaking down, acting like a total baby, totally spineless, just kind of like this, whatever you want, whatever you need me to do, whatever you need me to say, I'll do it, I'll do it. It doesn't seem like the guy who's like actually a dangerous head of some like criminal organization like they're trying to lead you to believe for most of the film. So I just felt like that was very mismatched when he gets caught. Just kind of a weird choice. But giallo. Weird, quirky things, because giallo. The facial reconstruction on the computer is funny. It's funny because nowadays, like, that technology just looks absurd and ridiculous and slow and outlandish as well. Like, how was that being done, really? Like, it seems outlandish for that time. It's just like, yes, and then we figured out exactly how this person was supposed to look, hair color and all. It wasn't based off DNA, that's for sure. So, yeah, but I just found that kind of funny, especially with, like, the very slow loading screen. I understand that's how computers were back then, but I'm just saying, in 2021, to see that now, it reminds you of how far we've come technology-wise, but it also makes you laugh at the same time. You're like, wow. I like the twist of the lawyer actually being Marco after plastic surgery, and the misdirection of Marco on the elevator with Lisa, so you think that the killer's actually coming for the lawyer, when in fact the killer is the lawyer. So I love that. Also, the shoes. When they show the shoes in the same, well, I guess in the bedroom where Marco is, that's like a misdirection to make the audience believe that that's the killer that's kind of like hiding there and about to jump out and get the lawyer. But in fact, it's just that's where the shoes are sitting because the killer is Marco. That aka the lawyer. That was smart. I really did enjoy that because I fell for it. I literally thought, oh no, the killer's going to get the lawyer now because he's in the room, even though Lisa's like checking every room, being like, I think you're good. And Tony didn't take his own advice at the end from earlier in the film when he says, check if they're dead. I don't, like, I guess I understand why they did that. It's supposed to be this kind of funny moment, but it was just like, just another strike against Tony as a human being. Further indicates, his not playing with a full deck thing. I've already laid out more than enough evidence of how weird and out there Tony is. But that just adds another one to it. He's like chiding Lisa in the beginning of the film about like, what have I told you? You always have to check to see if they're dead. And then he literally doesn't do that. So like, it leads you to believe when he's getting after Lisa about it, that like, this is something he always does. He always checks to see if the people are dead. And then he just doesn't do it at the end, the climax of the film. And you're just like, okay. But that, that's a common thing though within film, not, the whole thing with Tony, but the killer coming back. Like you think they're dead and then, oh, they have a second wind and then they die again. And it looked like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it kind of looked like Marco with the knife actually was going to stab himself. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments because I'm still trying to figure it out because it was a weird swing. And I don't know if they were trying to set it up as a swing where like Marco makes this wild swing and Tony moves out of the way fast enough that he still is like trying to follow through and comes all the way around and accidentally stabs himself, or if it was always his intention to just kill himself. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Would love your opinion on it. I like the cliffhanger at the end of the police radio reporting another decapitation and describing the Countess as the suspect. Well, like I said in the beginning, the idea that the Countess is out there being her weird, quirky, fun, sinister, delightful self gives me life. It literally gives me life. And this is the sequel we need now. I mean, I know this film is from 1992, and it feels like it would probably be a little bit weird if you make a sequel now, but someone get on that. We could use a sequel of the Countess on just like this fun, bloody rampage. As long as you nail that character the same way. And I'm sure there are actors out there who can do it. Actresses. Well, either, actually. I don't care. There's nice camera work in this, like I would assume would be in an Aldo Lado film. Aldo Lado, good director, always some solid cinematography, really nice smooth camera work, nice camera motions. So there is a good amount of that. Some pretty typical, not as much as I would assume, but some typical things that a lot of, old school Italian directors did, which is, shooting things like through things. There were a few shots like that and like moving with a character while there's something they're shooting through, like, drapes or, plants or whatever it is. Bava did a lot of that, and it looks interesting. It looks neat. It helps with kind of like a extra POV perspective. So that is literally, it's kind of just a synonym I said. So disregard that. So this movie, okay, hear me out on this. This movie kind of gives me Dead Heat vibes. It also kind of gives me Samurai Cop vibes. Anyone else feel that? It gives me those. Yeah, it's interesting. But I like it. I mean, like, it's quirky. It's not like a great film, but I like it. So as far as giallo goes, out of 5 stars possible, half stars in play, I'm gonna give it a solid 3. I mean, I'll give it a solid 3. Like, just so you know, I was between a 3 and a 3.5, but I don't feel like I can really get it to that 3.5. It is quirky. It is a little bit of like a so bad it's good film, but I'm going to give it a very solid 3, but I did consider the 3.5, so know that. Now, I would love to hear your opinions on this film. Go ahead and put some comments down there. Also, what were your favorite aspects of the film? And did you love the Countess's character as much as I did? And like me, did you want to see more of the Countess? And what do you think of my sequel idea? I think it's brilliant. We should make sure that happens. Let's start an online petition. Isn't that what everyone's doing nowadays for stuff that they want done or don't want done? Let's do an online petition for a sequel to Circle of Fear. Anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. Do me a quick favor if you haven't already. Please subscribe to this channel. That is your way to repay me. I don't make money doing this or anything. And to subscribe, it is quick, painless, and costs you no money. So, you can do it. And I would appreciate that. Anyway, I do thank you for taking your time to check this video out. And until next time, keep it brutal.